The quiet of an empty barn shattered one night, not by wind or animals, but by footsteps. Footsteps caught on a farmer's old security camera. No one was supposed to be there. But what was lurking in the shadows of that lonely barn would change everything for a small town forever. In the rolling farmlands of rural Iowa, nestled between endless cornfields and dusty country roads, lived Thomas Harlan, a man in his early 50s known for his quiet life and steadfast work ethic. Thomas wasn't just a farmer. He was the heartbeat of this small community, tending to his land and his barn with care passed down through generations. It was late autumn, 2017, the season when the fields lay fallow, the air turned crisp, and the farm slowed to a peaceful, reflective rhythm. Thomas's farm was more than just a livelihood. It was a legacy. His barn stood large and weathered, its wood darkened by decades of sun and storms, a silent sentinel over the acres. The barn was usually empty this time of year, save for the occasional tractor or tools stored inside. Thomas lived alone, his wife having passed years earlier, and his 2 grown children moved out to the city. Though isolated, he found comfort in the familiar creaks and groans of his farmstead. On the surface, Thomas's life seemed uneventful, marked by routine and solitude. But beneath that quiet exterior lay a man who had faced hardship, who carried the weight of loss and a deep-rooted connection to this land. The community respected him. He was a fixture in town, always ready with a nod or a tip of his hat at the local diner. This peaceful existence was about to be shattered by something none could have predicted, something that began with a simple recording on an old security camera, a chilling mystery that would ripple through the town and forever change how they viewed their tranquil countryside. In the weeks leading up to the discovery, something strange had been stirring around Thomas's farm. At first, it was subtle, unsettling, but easily dismissed. The occasional misplaced tool, a door left slightly ajar, or the faint sound of footsteps echoing in the dead of night. Thomas, a practical man, chalked it up to animals or the creaking of the old barn settling under the night sky. But then the unease grew. Neighbors reported seeing a shadowy figure near the edge of the property just after sunset. Local teenagers whispered about strange noises coming from the barn, footsteps, whispers, even what some claimed sounded like muffled cries. Thomas himself began to feel watched, catching glimpses of movement out of the corner of his eye while working late into the evening. He decided to install an old security camera in the barn, hoping to catch whatever, or whoever, was causing the disturbances. The camera was an antique by modern standards, with grainy footage and a limited night vision range, but it was all he could afford. Night after night, Thomas reviewed the footage, finding nothing but the usual silence and shadows. Then, on the night of October 13th, something changed. The camera picked up something that would send a chill through the entire town: clear, unmistakable footsteps, walking slowly, deliberately, inside the barn. Yet, the barn was supposed to be empty. Thomas had been at home that evening, miles away from the farm. The footsteps seemed to circle the center of the barn, pausing at intervals, as if the person was searching for something. Who could have been inside the barn? And what were they looking for? The strange activity wasn't the only odd thing that happened around that time. Thomas's closest friend and farmhand, Mark, had recently vanished without a trace. The two had grown up together, shared countless seasons in the fields, but now Mark was gone. His truck was found abandoned on a nearby dirt road, keys still in the ignition, no signs of struggle. No one could explain the connection, but as the footsteps on the camera suggested, the farm was no longer a safe haven. Something, or someone, was moving in the shadows, and the peaceful rhythms of rural life were unraveling, thread by thread. The night Thomas reviewed the footage with the footsteps, he felt a knot tighten deep in his stomach. He immediately called the local sheriff's department. Officers arrived the next morning, combing through the barn and surrounding fields. What they found sent shockwaves through the quiet town. In the dim light of the barn, traces of a violent struggle emerged. Scattered hay stained with dark smears, broken tools tossed carelessly on the ground, and scuff marks on the wooden floorboards. It was clear someone had been there recently, and not by chance. Then came the worst discovery. Hidden beneath a loose floorboard, wrapped in an old tarp, was the body of Mark, Thomas's missing friend. He had been bound and beaten. The cause of death later ruled a brutal blow to the head. The cold, hard truth settled over the farmstead like a thick fog. Mark had been murdered, right where Thomas had worked and lived. The town was stunned. Mark was well liked, a young man with no known enemies. Who would do such a thing? And why hide the body in the very barn that Thomas had worked in daily? Sheriff Jacobs led the investigation. Early theories ranged from robbery gone wrong to a personal vendetta, but no signs of forced entry or theft were found. The murder weapon was missing, adding to the mystery. Investigators questioned neighbors, friends, anyone who might shed light on Mark's last days. The footsteps on the camera became a vital clue. Analysts enhanced the grainy footage, revealing faint shadows of a figure, wearing what looked like heavy boots, circling the barn late at night. Could the killer be someone who knew the farm well? Someone close to Thomas and Mark? As the days passed, strange reports continued. More footsteps were heard in the barn at odd hours. Some locals claimed the barn was haunted, others feared a sinister presence stalking the fields. The case gripped the community. The farm, once a symbol of hard work and safety, had become a chilling reminder of how darkness could creep into the most unexpected places. Just when the investigation seemed to hit a dead end, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. One evening, weeks after Mark's body was found, Thomas received a call from a local historian, Emily Reed, who had been researching old land deeds and records tied to the farm. Emily told Thomas something chilling. The property had a hidden history. Decades ago, the barn's site was linked to a series of unsolved disappearances, young men who vanished without a trace, their bodies never recovered. Rumors whispered of a secret underground cellar beneath the barn, sealed off and forgotten. Curious and desperate for answers, Thomas and Sheriff Jacobs decided to investigate. After hours of probing beneath the barn's floor, they discovered a concealed trapdoor, covered by rotting hay and dirt. Inside the cold, dark cellar, the truth was more horrifying than anyone imagined. The walls were lined with strange symbols, and old remnants suggested it had been used repeatedly: chains, old ropes, and personal belongings belonging to missing people, including items matching Mark's description. This grim discovery reopened the case entirely. Investigators now believe the barn was not just the site of a single murder, but part of a decades-long pattern of ritualistic kidnappings and murders. Then, surveillance footage from a nearby grain silo surfaced. It captured a mysterious figure entering the barn property around the times the strange footsteps were heard, wearing a distinctive jacket embroidered with a symbol matching those found in the cellar. The symbol was traced back to a fringe group rumored to be involved in occult practices, known for luring victims to remote farms. Suddenly, the investigation shifted focus. The police began searching for suspects connected to this group. The picture grew darker, a hidden network operating in the shadows of rural America, exploiting the isolation of farms like Thomas's to commit unspeakable crimes. With the new evidence in hand, the investigation intensified. The sheriff's department launched a coordinated effort to track down anyone linked to the fringe group identified through the symbols and the grain silo footage. Several suspects emerged, men known to frequent secretive meetings on the outskirts of town, some with histories of violence and disappearance cases in other counties. After weeks of surveillance and undercover operations, authorities arrested a man named Joseph Crane, a local mechanic with no prior criminal record but a chilling reputation among insiders. Crane was found in possession of ritualistic paraphernalia and photographs of missing individuals, including some matching the timeline of Mark's disappearance. During interrogation, Crane remained silent, but forensic teams found his DNA on items recovered from the barn's cellar, tying him directly to the crime scene. His phone contained cryptic messages referencing the cycle and the harvest, terms investigators believed connected to the group's dark activities. Ultimately, Joseph Crane was charged with the murder of Mark Harlan and linked to several other cold cases involving disappearances on farms in the region. The trial was long and arduous, but the evidence was overwhelming. Crane was convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole. For Thomas, the verdict brought some measure of closure, but the scars remained. His farm was forever changed, a place where the past's horrors had taken root beneath the soil he once tended with pride. The community struggled to come to terms with the hidden darkness in their midst. In the years since, the barn has been abandoned, left to rot as a reminder of the secrets it held. Thomas moved away, unable to stay where memories of loss and betrayal lingered in the air. The footsteps caught on that old security camera remain etched in the minds of those who knew the story, a haunting echo of a nightmare that turned a quiet farm into the center of a chilling true crime that shook a town to its core. Thank you for joining me on this dark journey into a quiet farm's chilling secret. Sometimes, the most peaceful places hide the deepest shadows. If you found this story haunting or eye-opening, please like and subscribe for more true crime stories that uncover the truth beneath the surface. And remember, sometimes the footsteps we hear aren't just echoes of the past, they're warnings.